Anyone present in the audience who has business that is not on the agenda?
No, there is nobody calling in for any non-agenda items.
Very well. If, Drew, you can proceed with the pre-post agenda items.
Okay, the first thing I'm gonna go over are the, there's 5 sets of meeting minutes, and I'll start with the meeting minutes from July 9th and 23rd, and I'll list off the attendees who are going to be voting on these minutes. The first thing I'll ask is if everyone has had an opportunity to read all 5 sets of minutes. These would be from July 9th, July 23rd, August 13th, September 10th, and October 8th.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So I'll start with the July 9th meeting minutes, and the attendees for that meeting are Brad Sweet, Paul Colombo, Tom O'Neill, and Chad Smith.
Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Voting. See who we got. Brian.
Nope.
Oops, sorry.
Sorry, it's Brad Sweet, Paul Colombo, Tom O'Neill, and you, Chad.
Brad.
Yes.
Tom.
Aye.
Paul.
Yes.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next set of meeting minutes is July 3rd, and it is the same attendees as the previous meeting minutes.
Do I hear a motion?
Move the approval of the minutes of July 3rd.
23rd.
23rd,
Yeah.
okay, that one too.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Voting. Tom.
Aye.
Paul.
Yes.
Brad.
Yes.
And I vote aye as well. Motion carries.
Thank you. The next set of meeting minutes is from August 13th, and the attendees for that meeting are Paul Colombo, Tom O'Neill, and Chad Smith.
Do I hear a motion?
Motion to accept the meeting minutes of August 13th.
And a second?
I'll second that.
All right. Voting. Tom.
Aye.
Brad.
Nope, that's just Paul and you.
Paul.
Yes.
And I vote aye as well. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next set of meeting minutes is September 10th, and the attendees are Chad, Paul, Tom O'Neill, Brad Sweet, and Brian. So everybody who is here tonight.
Motion to accept the September 10th minutes.
Second.
Well, voting. Brad.
Yes.
Tom.
Aye.
Paul.
Yes.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries.
No, Brian Whedon was also also attended that meeting.
Sorry, Brian. What say you?
I vote aye as well.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Last set of meeting minutes, October 8th, 2020. Attendees were Tom O'Neill, Chad Smith, Paul Colombo, and Brian Whedon.
Motion to accept the minutes of October 8th.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Voting. Tom.
Aye.
Brad.
Nope, Brad was not present.
Nope. Paul.
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
Paul.
And you, Chad, you're the other one.
And Chad votes aye as well. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. That takes care of those 5 sets of meeting minutes. I appreciate that. As we're now at 6:05 p.m., I'm going to open the first hearing for 10 Beach Road. This is Cape and Islands representing. If you give me a minute, I will have the applicant's representatives admitted to the meeting. Just want to check first before I do that. Raul Lizardi, are you on the line? Raul?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
thank
I'm
you.
here.
Okay, I'm going to admit you. Raul, is there anyone else I need to admit for this particular meeting, hearing for 10 Beach Road, or is it just you?
Just me for this one.
Okay, very good. I'm going to scroll down, get us started here. We'll come back to the administrative approval for 424, Raul, but we have to start the regular hearing agenda now. So, okay, I have the GIS image on the screen. Whenever you're ready, Raul, you can start.
All right. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the applicant. The applicant just recently purchased this property, and the septic system needs to be upgraded. The property is at 10 Beach Road. The resources near or within the property are land subject to coastal flooding, coastal dunes, coastal beach, the Vineyard Sound. And the proposal here is to replace the existing 1500 Title V septic tank with a denitrifying septic tank fast unit. So the tank will be located at the same location as the existing tank, so there is no encroachment into the setbacks to any of the resources. The system will better protect the resources just because it's going to be enhancing nitrogen removal, and there are no other changes to the proposed septic system. The excavation is going to be concentrated in that vicinity. What's existing right now there is some landscaping vegetation and an existing walkway. The proposed work is for the walkway to be replaced in kind, not increase in size, and the landscaping will be reinstalled after the septic tank is in place. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Comments?
Yes, so Board of Health, just to go over their comments, they said the property is located in a Zone 2 water recharge district. Plans have been received by Board of Health for review, so they are on file. Just to go over some of the details here of this particular application, this is a property that Raul had described as already bordering some coastal resource areas, including land subject to coastal storm flow, which encompasses the entire lot, coastal dune, and then coastal beach, land under ocean in the sound out here. Just so the commission can see some photos of the site here. Top left, looking at it from the end of Beach Road. There's the permit sign displayed. So this house directly borders coastal dune, as you can see on the bottom photo here. This is taken standing at the coastal beach looking back at the house. And this area here, the top left photo, is where most of the work is proposed, and then you've got the leach fields over here in the driveway layout. So as you can see, it's all previously disturbed hardscape landscape present on the site that will be disturbed as a result of the work, and then I would assume Raul replaced in kind or something similar to that. Yeah. Okay. So no other comments. It does meet the performance standards as for the various resource areas at play. Land subject to coastal storm flowage. There's no disturbance of native vegetation on the lot, as there's none present in the footprint of the work being proposed. So it meets the performance standards for Regulation 25, as well as Regulation 17 that deals with coastal resource areas, and 310 CMR regulations for coastal dune, coastal beach, and land under ocean, as it is outside of all of those resource areas and in the buffer zone only. So no other comments, and I'll pass it on to the commissioners. This is an RDA. Chad, are you still with us?
I was on mute.
Chad?
Hearing no other questions, I'll entertain a motion. This is an RDA.
I think just in the interest of consistency, it should be the vice chair that makes the motion for these hearings.
Okay. So I would like to make a motion for Douglas and Ellen McHale, 10 Beach Road. Is this to close an issue, Drew?
This is an RDA.
negative determination.
This is a negative determination.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Voting, Tom,
Aye.
Brad,
Aye.
Paul,
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries.
Thank you, Raoul.
Now calling the 603 hearing for Roger Schiffman and Patricia Donnelly, 4 Mute Swan Circle. Proposed amended order of conditions, number 433036, to modify pool and pool area. Matt Costa and Raul Lazard Rivera, Cape and Islands Engineering.
Mr. Chairman, I have to recuse myself on this item.
Understood.
Raul, we received a request for continuance. I don't have the date in front of me. Do you have that date?
For the changes, I believe will be probably the first available in January. I don't know what that date would be.
January 14th, right? I think it's January 14th.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. I'm just going to verify that before we move on. Yes, January 14th at 6 p.m.
I'll entertain the motion. Move that we continue this application to the 4th of January at 6 p.m.
14th.
14th, sorry. I'll second that.
Voting, Tom, he recused himself. Got it. Brad,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Brian.
Yes.
I vote aye as well. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now calling the 606 hearing for Joseph P. and Carolyn Campanelli, 20 and 24 Wheelhouse Lane. Proposed pathway, access ladder, and elevated boardwalk with mitigation plantings. Owner of record of 25-4 Wheelhouse Lane, New Seabury Properties, LLC. Representatives Matthew Crichton, BSC Group, continued from November 12th.
And
This is an NOI.
thank you. Is Matt Creighton, are you on the line?
Hey, Drew, I'm on the line, and Attorney Sarah Toronto Flores has been working with me on this one. If you can
I
bring her up as well.
will admit you both. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
And then that's for the next one.
Okay. I think you're both up on the screen now. So, Matt, whenever you're ready, we're ready for you.
Perfect, thanks. For the record, my name is Matthew Creighton with the BSC Group, and I've been working with Attorney Sarah Toronto Flores, both working on behalf of the applicant for the property at 24 Wheelhouse Lane. The proposed project is a boardwalk project that will provide access from the house essentially out across a small island and then out into the water. It's kind of a two-part boardwalk with a couple of paths coming down, 4-foot wide paths coming off of down beside the deck essentially, and then we've got a section of elevated structure and then a path around the island and then another section of elevated structure. We designed this a couple of different times, actually, believe it or not. We went out and surveyed the whole thing, and then we went out and, you design it, basically on the computer, and then you turn around and you go out and stake it out. And when we looked at it, what we decided was we wanted to kind of have the path make a couple of angles and not just be a straight linear project right out and across so you see, a structure, a straight line structure. We also wanted to avoid trees and some of the better vegetation out there. So we moved some stuff around and restaked it and walked it with Drew, and we're avoiding cutting down of any kind of major trees or anything like that, which I think it should look nice and blend in a little bit better. The two sections that were spanning salt marsh, we're looking at using flow-through decking, which will have the 68% sunlight penetration there. Overall, we've got about 184 linear feet of proposed elevated boardwalk and 52 piles of impact into the salt marsh there. We're not too concerned with shading because of the flow-through decking, but there's 736 square feet of boardwalk over salt marsh. So just to kind of give you a little idea, the boardwalk ends landward of the mean high water line, so it doesn't extend into the ACEC. And we kind of found a little niche in the salt marsh there that was kind of shallow and sandy where they could get off pretty easily and get out into the water and back. Because of the long walk down, we did include a couple of kayak racks at the end of it, so they're not trying to drag stuff back and forth. Overall, like I said, we only have pretty minimal, about 18 square feet of impact, direct impact to salt marsh, but we're proposing 52 square feet of mitigation. I had gone out and withdrew and really wanted to show them this area. We've got a salt pan that's not very deep, so it doesn't provide the typical habitat that you would in a salt pan, where we have some fish and things like that. This dries right out. It's only a couple inch difference, maybe 3 to 6 inches difference than the surrounding area, most likely from some ice rafting over the years. So we want to come in and put a little thin layer deposition and then replant it by China Paytons, and see how that area does and kind of, monitor it over a couple of years and get back to Drew and the commission with a little update before we actually would close this out. So it's an interesting area. Thin layer deposition is kind of a newish concept, but it does allow for some restoration of salt marsh, and it's a really good location for it. That's the project overall. I'm happy to take questions and see what you guys got to say.
Drew, comments?
So Matt, when I was out with you on site, I know that you had mentioned at least the initial approach was going to be to transplant what would be impacted by the piles. Has that changed now, or?
Nope.
Okay.
No, that's accurate. Yeah, so I apologize for that. The idea is to take plugs from the location of the pilings, and then try to transplant them over into this area. And then if that didn't take, depending on time of year when it was installed, then we would go ahead and replant it with plugs, with store-bought plugs, so to speak. But no, the idea is to transplant. We've done this in another site where we've taken essentially like a fence post digger, if you will, and taken a good 6 or 8 inch chunk of that salt marsh out, and then we'd be able to kind of stack them all together like little footballs, so to speak. And they've rooted and taken pretty well. It reduces any sand that we would have to bring in, because you have the mat with it. Usually we bring in a little bit of sand to kind of put it around it to stabilize it. But no, you're right, Drew. I'm sorry. That is the transplant plan. Yes.
Okay. And just so the commission, and I apologize for the crude graphic here. It's not a straight line as Matt had described. This is just a visual illustration of where the pathway is going to access the water through this kind of mosaic of salt pans, land under salt pond, salt marsh, and then you've got this upland island where it's going to be an at-grade footpath, but it'll meander through this section here to avoid removal of larger trees and shrubs. So trying to take the path of least resistance. It's not a straight line like I've illustrated here. It will meander. And then out in this area here is where some of the restoration of the salt pan by using the way that Matt had described it on site, and I thought it was a very unique approach, was, given that you're transplanting already established salt marsh grass, it may tend to have more of a robust chance of survival because it's already growing there rather than going with nursery stock. So that's kind of the approach here, which I think is very interesting, and I hope, I'm very interested to see how that works, because I think that could be something that we could use as a standard moving forward if it's successful, because kind of it can be hit or miss with plugs that you get from nursery stock. So interesting approach. Just to show the commissioners some photos of the site. On this day, unfortunately, I didn't get out and muck it out to the, to the edge of the water, but this is the basic setting that you're looking at here. Top left, just a view of the home from the road. Top right, looking out at the buffer zone here, where you reach the salt marsh beyond this initial buffer. Bottom left, again, just another shot looking out at kind of the general direction of the path as it emanates out from the deck. And then out here, kind of between these trees is the path that it's going to take out over towards the water. Now, just to clarify that this, because you do see the cross-hatching here on the plan, that this is area of critical environmental concern, so it will terminate the boardwalk before the ACEC jurisdiction, and this is really to ensure that no structures go beyond the ACEC line, and it is exclusively to be used and can be conditioned as such for canoes and kayaks, no motorboat access. There will never be a ramp or a float here. It's just a terminated boardwalk. If the commission remembers, there was a similar application on a much smaller footprint nearby this location at the end of Wheelhouse Lane. Similar type of project, only on a much larger scale. So that's it, pretty much in a nutshell. And I'll pass it over to you, Chad, for comments from the commissioners or questions.
Thank you, Drew. Any comment?
I have a recollection that approximately in the same area, there's a very popular osprey nest. Did you see any of those, Drew, when you're out there?
I think there is an osprey nest off to the right, somewhere over in this vicinity here, but it's a ways away from the project. No, there won't be any disturbance to that as a result of this project.
Good. Okay. Other than that, sounds good.
Okay, anybody calling in on this? We don't have anybody calling in from the public on this application.
Well, if there's no further comment, I'd recommend that we close an issue on the application of Joseph P. and Carolyn Campanelli at 20 to 24 Wheelhouse Lane. No further comment.
One other thing before anyone makes a second to that motion. As you know, this involves two parcels, one privately owned at 24 Wheelhouse Lane, and then you've got this parcel out. You can see from the plan, this is the parcel line for 24. Then you've got this massive salt marsh and upland here that is owned by New Seabury Properties, or now part of the association. They have given written permission to construct the path and boardwalk across that parcel. That's why you see 20 and 24 as the addresses for this project. 20 Wheelhouse Lane is this salt marsh parcel, just for clarification.
Well, I would repeat propose a close an issue in regards to the application of Joseph P. and Carolyn Campanelli at 20 and 24 Wheelhouse Lane.
Second that motion.
Chad Smith?
Checked. I second that motion, Chad.
Chad's still online.
Chad, are you there? We might have lost Chad. If you give me a moment, I can give him a call. Chad, are you on the line? Chad Smith? I just did. It went right to voicemail. So we have Brad, Paul, Brian and Tom, we're gonna have to improvise here because we've lost Chad. So someone is gonna have to, Tom, you're gonna have to take over for Chad in his absence, until we get him back on the line.
That's no problem. So, shall we make Brad made a motion here?
Yeah, there is a motion on the table to close.
And I second it, so why don't we,
Okay.
I'll do a roll call here.
Yeah.
So Brad,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Paul,
Yes.
and I vote aye as well. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Do you want me to call the next meeting?
Yes, please, and I'll invite the applicant in.
So I'm calling the 609 meeting, Southworth Mashpee Properties LLC, 8 Grand Vista. This is a proposed amendment to the order of conditions to construct a single-family dwelling with landscape and hardscape modifications. They're being represented by Matthew Eddy from Baxter and I Engineering.
And Mike Ball is here for representing this project. Mike, you're on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes. Proceed when you're ready.
All right. Okay. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Andrew, and members. For your record, this is Mike Ball with Baxter and I Engineering, in place of Matt Eddy tonight. Representing the applicant, which is Southworth Mashpee Properties for the project located at 8 Grand Vista on a 0.4 acre lot in one of the residential neighborhoods at Willowbend. The request before you is one to amend an existing order. Back in May of this year, you issued an order that reapproved the generic building footprint on this same lot. The development footprint had been approved a number of years back, but the property, which at the time was listed as 90 feet of height, went unsold for quite a few years. And as conditioned in the order, the understanding was that once the property was sold, the new owners would submit a request to amend the order proposing a detailed design for a residence and landscaping amenities. So what documents are before you tonight are just that. The property has been sold, and new owners are Michelle and Barry Peter. So in addition to our amendment letter, Drew's put up the plan here. We've submitted a site plan prepared by Baxter and I, and also a proposed landscape plan prepared by the Demolition Company. The planned residence is a 2-story single-family home of roughly 3,350 square feet with standard utilities, a garage, rear patio, and an in-ground pool with a hardscape pool deck and required fencing. The fencing is proposed to follow the lot boundaries in the back half of the property and be elevated a number of inches to allow for space beneath the fence, as we are partially within the riverfront area. The house footprint on the current plan is actually a little bit smaller than the generic house footprint that was approved back in May. The location and limit of work is slightly modified from what was originally proposed and approved, but the revised line simply accommodates the project design, but there was no significant increase in the amount of previously approved project area. Lawn area is also proposed, and the amount of lawn coverage meets your bylaw regulation standards for lawn and nitrogen loading. Due to the topo of the lot in the easternmost portion that slopes down towards the resource area, the low retaining wall is proposed to allow for the pool location behind the house. At its greatest height, the wall would be a couple of feet high. With regard to sewage disposal, there would be a tie-in to the existing treatment system, and the Board of Health referenced this. With regard to management of rainwater, required roof drain and dry wells are proposed at 2 of the house corners. Those should be visible on the site plan. So as I mentioned, wetland resource areas on or near the property are riverfront area and bordering vegetated wetland, both of which are associated with Quaker Run, which, as you know, drains to Shoestring Bay. The project is partially within the outer 100 feet of the riverfront area, and is not within the BVW buffer zone. So the inner riparian zone, that inner 100 feet plus the entire BVW 100-foot buffer zone will remain naturally vegetated.
project as designed is in compliance with the riverfront area performance standards. So, in our opinion, we hope to agree that the project, as detailed, meets the resource area performance standards and continues to serve the wetland interests. And with that, I hope I can answer any questions.
One thing that I noticed, Matt, that you mentioned dry wells, but I do not see any roof drain wells to the rear of the property, which I would think would be critical.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. That the engineer positioned them in the front of the house, and all I can say is that I'm going to assume this is that whatever gutters they have, they will be connected to the downspouts that will get water into those dry wells. I thought there were three, but the third one that I see is actually a pool drawdown leach pit, and I don't think there'll be a tie-in to that in that northwest corner of the house. So I think right now it's just two large dry wells in front.
And we can condition that in the order of conditions to make sure that, you know, roof runoff is captured in an effective manner, be it dry wells or other methodology. So that's usually a pretty standard condition when it comes to new houses or reconstruction projects.
Right, and there's certainly room. It looks like there's plenty of room in that back corner, both back corners. So that would be fine to be conditioned.
So I can just go over some of the imagery here. I didn't go out and take pictures of the site because it's undeveloped. You'd just be looking at open woodlands, not really revealing much. It's better to see it from a GIS imagery. But basically, right around here, Quaker Run River wraps through the woods here. And I apologize, I meant to put up the previously approved plan that just had the house footprint without the landscape, hardscape details. But nothing has changed from that plan to this one in terms of the setbacks in riverfront. So it is still entirely outside of the 100-foot inner riparian zone. This is only in the outer 100 to 200-foot setback from Quaker Run River. So it meets the performance standards by virtue of leaving an undisturbed inner riparian zone to Quaker Run River. No impact to the river itself or its associated bordering vegetated wetland. What we were looking for with this amended order are the landscape and hardscape details, which are shown on this revised plan. So with that, I don't believe there's any comments from the audience or from the public. I'm just going to check real quick. Okay, has anyone called in about 8 Grand Vista? No. Okay. There are no public comments for this application. It is an amended order request.
Is this to close an issue?
The motion is to approve.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the Southworth Mashpee Properties LLC 8 Grand Vista proposed amendment to the order of condition.
Second.
Voting, Brad?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
Paul?
Yes.
And I vote aye as well. Motion carries and is approved.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Great, thank you.
Shall we open the 612 hearing?
Yes, anytime, Tom, when you're ready.
Let's open the 612 hearing for John K.L. and Catherine Thorndike, 7 Chartway, proposed demolition and reconstruction of a single-family dwelling and garage with landscape, hardscape modifications, and mitigation plantings. Representing me this evening is Tom Bunker from BSS Design.
I'm just admitting Tom now. Andrew's on the line. Andrew, can you hear me?
I can you hear me?
Yes. And Tom, can you hear me?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, we're ready whenever you are, guys.
Okay, I see that Drew has the GIS map up, which is pretty much the same map that I have. I can share my screen now, unless Drew, do you have other things you want to show there for another
No,
moment?
I'll stop sharing, Tom, and you can go ahead and start sharing when you're ready.
Okay. So I was saying, the GIS map here also, as you can see, there's a 7-chart way with an existing house on it, a large deck on the seaward side, a driveway, and there's a couple of trees along the road and a pier. This property, the house is built around 1971, and it is non-conforming to various regulations, including the Mashpee wetlands and zoning and the FEMA regulations. The floor is too low in a flood zone. The entire property. I can go on to our existing conditions plan. So the entire property is in a flood zone AE elevation 11 on this site, and there's a salt marsh running along. There is an existing mortared stone revetment wall in this location, the salt marsh. Papanesset Creek is land title body of land under the ocean over on the west side. The large deck, it's only roughly 18 feet from the salt marsh, and there's a septic system in the only corner of the property that's 100 feet from the wetland. This was installed just a couple of years ago with a pump system because the house is too low in the flood zone. See, we have a limit of work basically encompassing the entire lot, all of the lawn area. So there's a work limit to get around. There are a couple of trees, a 24-inch oak tree here, a 36-inch pine tree in this location, and then there's also a dead 24-inch pine tree right here. So basically everything in there will be removed, including this crushed stone patio, a shed. There's a generator up on a platform, the septic system. This is all lawn. There is a slight rise right here that has enough slope to be considered a coastal bank, but it's very firmly covered with lawn in the seaward side of the house. So the proposal still have the 50-foot and 100-foot setback, the limit of work shown on here. The proposal, the house is not getting any bigger because it's already above 20% lot coverage, but the house is going to be, the first floor is going to be taller or higher above frankly, it's almost a floor higher. The existing house is, I think it was 8.2, and the new house is going up to elevation 15. And so there'll be a deck at this new first floor elevation here, running down to a patio here, and I colored in slightly. This is the old deck line here, colored in orange a little bit, so you can see that the patio and the new deck is all landward. It's further from the salt marsh than the existing deck is. The new deck is narrower and it's up at a higher elevation. And the big difference here is that because the house is elevated, we have a number of steps, tiered steps going from the front door down to the driveway level, which is at 10, and the floor, as I said, is at 15. So there's a number of steps going down here, and we're proposing a new septic system because the house is going to be elevated, and the septic tank and the soil pipe coming out will be higher, and then it can flow by gravity, and it'll be under the driveway. It will be sloping up from Chartway to get into the garage at elevation 10.5. And there's enough room in here. The current septic system has the bottom of the septic system is only 4 feet. It's 4 feet from the groundwater, and this filling of this front of the lot makes it possible to put the septic system 5 feet above groundwater, so it's closer to meeting the Title V requirements for a septic system. We have dry wells spaced around the house. They have to be here, mainly in the back, to stay the required 25 feet from the septic system, and an amount of mitigation planting down here, seaward of the limit of work. So that's what I have to say about it. I think see if Andrew has something to show and talk about. So I've stopped my share for Andrew.
Okay. So I go ahead and share. Let's hopefully can figure it out. Oops. What did it do? Okay, here we go. I'm kind of new to the sharing thing here, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so we can see what's going on. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. As Tom gave a pretty good overview, I'm just going to take it from the street here a little bit to describe the landscape. We've got the driveway is going to come in at this location, and it goes fairly steeply up to the garage doors, which require us to have a retaining wall on this side to keep that grade up, and also to keep the grade high enough to keep the walkout from being considered a first floor. That retaining wall goes around here, which also gives us a nice shelf to be able to put the mechanicals, so the mechanicals are not in the flood zone as required. I got a little bit crafty here with the stairs. We've got the steps coming from the front porches here. We've got some steps coming down, and I have an intermediate level here with another couple of steps coming down to another terraced area here, where this pathway goes fairly level to the driveway, but this slopes downward through here. The driveway faces slopes downward going to the south, so there's another little bit of a retaining wall with a couple of steps through here, and we've managed to get a little parking space in here. I showed it with a nice boat, and that allows us to keep the tree here, the oak tree that's located here. I believe the white pine at this end of the property, I think it either went down in a storm or it's no longer there. It was in very poor condition. I think that was done with knowledge, but I'm not 100% sure. But this white pine is in decent enough shape, and I've tried to preserve it. There's also on the north side of the property, there's a nice cedar tree that I'm preserving, and also a triple birch tree is located here. I'm assuming you can see my cursor, is that correct?
Yep. Yes.
Okay. And then the grade remains the same at the south end of the house. The grade remains pretty much natural grade to go around the back side of the house here. As Tom mentioned, there's the deck above. I'm showing more what's underneath the deck. So this is underneath the deck is a proposed patio where there's some doors into storage underneath the house here. I've moved the walkway to the dock a little bit more landward here. I think it just works better also by flow. The north end of the patio, I've got a little fire pit over here.
these are the stairs that come down from the first floor and the first floor deck, and that it's all joined through so it flows nicely to the dock, and the storage doors in the basement also flow nicely toward the dock. Let's see what else. Mitigation. I did mitigation calculation. I'm going to show that here. So, all of part of this, if you look closely, and I'll zoom in so you can see closely, you'll see some of this has a hatch pattern in this mitigation area. So the hatch pattern is mitigation. The other part is, right now the other part is currently rugosa rose. So I thought since we're going to do mitigation anyway, that we'd remove the rugosa rose and replenish that, restore that area with native plants, as well as adding to it our mitigation. So the mitigation that's been calculated is all shown as new planting, and the Rosa rugosa is just being replaced. I have mitigation calculations down here. You can see this is the existing coverage. I'm going to bump to another plan here for 1 second. There we go. So this is the, just so you can see how I do my mitigation calculation. This is the old house, the old walk, the old deck. This is a brick patio that's being removed, or I think it might be gravel. I think it's just gravel. I'm not 100% sure. It's been so long. And then this is a shed that's being removed. So the different colors represent the different zones of mitigation calculation. So this is the old house, and then this is the new house. So I do these hatch patterns, and then I'm able, through the CAD program, to get those measurements. So I can visually see that I calculated it correctly, and then I put it in the chart, just so you know how that's derived. So our total mitigation from removing what's existing and then adding what is proposed comes to a net of having to add 270 square feet.
Andrew, is that removal and proposed including patio?
Yeah. I gotta get my thing here. Yeah, you can see this is what I counted as being removed. This is the old house, and then this is what's counted as new against it. So this is the proposed patio here. Part of this is proposed deck and patio underneath, and this is all the patio hardscape. Anything that's covering the ground, basically, and then that's the walkway. This is driveway here. This is retaining walls. These are the stepping stones. I even have the AC units and the generator counted, and stepping stones over here. So this is the 100 to 50, and then these are stepping down in 5-foot increments, and then this is not changing here at all. That's the revetment, and it's shown in both of them. So I just do the entire, everything existing, and then I do everything proposed, do the calculations for both, and subtract whichever one is higher from the other, or for whatever's lower from the higher.
Okay. And the shed and the gravel patio, what's going on in those areas where you've proposed to remove both?
It'll just be restored with, I was going to say grass, but that's not right, is it? I was going to ask you, in fact, I thought I sent you an email ways back about using a fescue clover mixed sod. Did you recall that?
I did, yes, yeah. And I think that will be fine. It's, because you don't want to run afoul of the nitrogen control bylaw that doesn't allow new lawns within 50 feet of a resource area.
Right.
Even though these are kind of like island situations in the middle of a surrounding lawn that's pre-existing. And I would assume that lawn is going to be pretty well disturbed from the construction activity. So when it gets reestablished, it will have to adhere to our lawn standards.
Yes.
And then, looking at that clover mix, I think that would be fine there, subject to the commission's approval. I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah, I think clover is a nice thing because it actually does better without fertilizer because it's nitrogen fixating.
Right.
Anyway, I'll go back to the plan. Just to show you what the mitigation and restoration, because it's a little bit of both, what the plants are. I have sweet fern, which, by the way, I find does a really, really good job at surviving it and comes in nice and lush. I know Falmouth doesn't like it for some reason, but and I have creeping juniper, pasture rose, northern bayberry, and winterberry. And I'll back out so you can see where things are. I didn't mention too. I have a vista window here. The dash line right here. It's 25% of the frontage, and it runs from the edge of this set of stairs to this edge. So this is where I have the some of the bigger plants are over in here, and those smaller plants I have in that vista area. I do have. I got to look back at that. With the winterberry and bayberry, a little bit mixed into this area, and also down into here. So it's not all low stuff. I did make this area in that vista window all low growth stuff because it is in the vista corridor. I don't know if I left anything out, but I'm sure you asked me if I have.
There's one thing I could say, Andrew, I did not coordinate my drawing, this is to the commission and Drew. I did not coordinate my drawing well on one respect as far as the trees. On my existing conditions and demo plan, I had all the trees being removed. And I see now that Andrew has the two live ones worked into the design, so I can update my sheet one to not show them being removed.
Okay.
There's actually four, Tom. There's two on the northern property line as well.
Okay, yeah, I'll take care of that.
And Drew, do you know the story on the white pine that? I know it was dead. I saw it dead back in the spring, and I know it's not there anymore.
No, it's not there anymore, so it must have gotten cleaned up over that span. So, but I do recall seeing it before, and it was clearly dead.
Okay.
So, yeah, no issue there.
Thank you.
So, just to Andrew, if you want to, I'll go back to the commission and Tom. If the commissioners have any questions about what's been presented so far. And after that, I can show some photos of the site.
Any questions from the commissioners on this project?
I don't have any.
Has anyone called in on this project?
No public comment on this project.
Are we ready to entertain a motion?
I just want to show a few photos of the site. So, Andrew, if you want to stop screen share and I can start mine, just to illustrate the existing conditions on the property. A nice job with the mitigation, Andrew, and saving the trees. I certainly appreciate that.
Thank you.
So top left photo here, just showing the house from the cul-de-sac Chartway in the foreground. There's the large tree to be saved. We do have a condition when trees are going to be in close proximity to construction activity that their wood board strapping be created around the base of the tree to make it a visual kind of stay away indicator and protection from any kind of inadvertent use of heavy equipment in close proximity to the tree. Then top right, just another angle looking at, this is where the, some of the footprint of the revised, the new home is going. The septic area here in the front yard, all grass, all landscaped. Looking down bottom left, this is a shot of the left. Hello, somebody crumpling some paper or something? So bottom left shows the existing backyard, left-facing side. If you're walking down the left side of the home, facing from the cul-de-sac, you can see it's got existing lawn going right up to the coastal bank area, the fringe where you see the salt marsh in the background, land under ocean, and then you've got some of the rugosa rose here. That you can see right along the fringe of where the property meets the wetland. Again, you can see that slight bank on the bottom right, just showing that that's why it's classified as coastal bank. All grass, all occupied by hardscaping and landscaping. And just a few more photos. This is the right-facing side of the house where it meets the abutting property line over here. This is the top left photo. Top right, there's that gravel area that Andrew had described to be removed. That clover can be planted in there. And there again, in the background, you've got the rugosa rose fringe vegetation before the salt marsh and land under ocean behind. And then the bottom two photos, just a couple of different perspectives of the backyard, looking on the other side out towards the creek here. There's the existing deck. Again, rugosa rose all along here. So this is where the mitigation is focused, right in this strip right here, which is almost exclusively rugosa rose. So it'd be good to get that out of there and get some native species put in place to substitute out for that rugosa rose. I think that's all I got for the photos. So as far as the performance standards for this project, your resource areas are land subject to coastal storm flowage, coastal bank by landform only, not by function. For sediment transport, it's just it just meets the slope criterion. It is not a sediment source type of coastal bank performance standard. And then you've got some what could be considered some scant BVW along here before you reach the salt marsh and land under ocean beyond here in the background. You can see top right photo. So the project is proposed to stay out of those resource areas. There is some alteration within the portion of the lot that's within land subject to coastal storm flow and coastal bank, but again, no abrogation of the performance standards for coastal bank as it's not a sediment source. So be happy to answer any questions about how the project meets the performance standards, and no other comments. And vista pruning would be a bit, tailored to the existing conditions on this lot, given the type of mitigation that's proposed within the window. Whenever we see situations like this where you've got previously disturbed conditions, right up to the water, I always recommend when you've got unabated view from side to side and there's mitigation involved, that vista pruning should be an automatic part of that application, so that those portions of the mitigation that are outside the vista corridor will grow and flourish as they're intended to be under mitigation regulation 12. So no other comments.
Hearing no more comments, would someone like to make a motion?
This is a notice of intent.
Someone like to make a motion?
I'll move that we close issue.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Voting, Paul,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'll vote aye as well. Motion carries and it's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Drew?
Yes,
Drew?
yes.
Could I ask you to do something? I don't know what happened here. I lost my audio and my video.
Well, you're
Now
still,
I'm waiting, I got right back in from, with audio, but, the video, it says, wait for the meeting host to let you back in.
and I just did. So, you should be back in now. And we see you, Brad. We can see you now.
Yeah, that's what I didn't see. I know the house so well, I didn't have a problem in voting on it, but I just walked that property again last week, so I didn't have a problem. But now at least I can see it.
Good.
Okay, good.
Okay, is the voting complete? Sorry, I got sidetracked there for a moment.
Yes, it's complete. Yep.
Okay. All right. Are you, either of you, Tom or Andrew, involved in any other applications tonight, or is that it?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on because, there might be a question on Aquid for me. I don't think there will be, but I'll hang around for that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, Drew, I have an RDA, for Kusala.
Oh, yeah, okay, so we'll keep both of you, in the meeting. Okay, we can be ready, Tom, to call the next hearing, the 6:15.
Okay, so I'd like to call the 6:15 hearing of Eric Rothenberg and Pamela Eli, 18 Spoondrift Circle, proposed demolition and reconstruction of single-family dwelling and garage with landscape, hardscape modifications, and mitigation plantings. Representing them is Mike Borselli from Falmouth Engineering.
So this has been requested to be continued to January 28th at 6 p.m. January 28th at 6 p.m.
Do I hear a motion to continue the request of the applicant until January 28th?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second that.
Voting, Brad?
Yes?
Brian?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Myself, aye. Motion carries.
Thank
Voted
you.
to continue.
Thank you. I'm going to, I think Raul is representing the next project, and he should already be good to go. So, Tom, you can call the next one when you're ready.
Okay, we're calling the 6:18 meeting, 664 Town of Mashpee, Great Neck Road South, proposed reconfiguration of an existing dock structure. Representative is Raul Lizardi Rivera from Cape and Islands Engineering.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering, representing the town of Mashpee on this project. The property is owned by the town of Mashpee. It's 664 Great Neck Road South. This property has a parking lot, a boat ramp, and an existing pier. The pier is partially a solid pier, a ramp, and a floating component to it. The town of Mashpee is looking to extend the existing floats on the pier. So what we're proposing to do is the existing pile at the end of the float will be removed and relocated to the side of the existing float. Then the new floats will be added at the end of the existing floats, and they add up to 40 feet by 9.5 foot wide. There'll be two new piles at the very end, one at the very end and one on the side, in the connection between the two floats. The 40 feet consists of two 20-foot floats. So there'll be a pile at the middle of the two new floats. These two floats are rather particular. There is going to be what we've been informed is a shellfish propagation bin underneath them. So the floats themselves have a buoyancy top on the edges of them, but down the middle of the floats, it's going to be a 2-foot deep shellfish bin, propagation bin. As I understand, they get attached to the decking, to the bottom of the decking of the float, and for the most part, they're always going to be submerged in water. I do not know really how they work or what goes within them, other than they somehow assist in reproducing shellfish. We received comments from Shellfish and the Harbor Master, which states that they have no objections to the project. This extension renders the proposed 98 feet of currently existing to 138 feet. It does not reach the edges of the mapped NHESP habitats, so we don't expect this to be any problems with endangered species or their habitats. It does reaches deeper waters on Aquay Bay, and if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Drew?
Okay, just to show the commission, also to add on to Raul's comments or description of the project, Jeff Smith is here. Jeff, are you on the line? Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, do you have any comments to add to this?
As the harbor master, no, it doesn't. It doesn't interfere with navigation. It actually provides more of a wind barrier, assisting boaters from getting on the boat ramp, as I reported in my email to you. I can give a brief. I'm not the shellfish constable, and I did not stay at a Holiday Inn last night, so the shellfish is not my forte. But I can tell you that what happens is the shellfish are actually in the bins underneath. There are two ice heater pumps that would normally be used by commercial or recreational boaters to keep ice away from their docks, turned sideways to increase the water flow to the shellfish, and that's about all the equipment down, about 2 by 2 feet, and there's up to, I believe that the director told me, 500,000 quahogs or oysters will be in each system during the year during the growing process, before they're transported to out in the field.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
So we did receive an email comment from Marine Fisheries, and given the scope of the project, they had no comments on this particular application, which tells me that they don't have any issues with it. So just to go over some photos of the site, this is looking down at the boat ramp at Aquay Bay, leading into Aquay Bay, the existing pier, ramp and float system on the left here, and then just a close-up of where it emanates out from the side of the boat ramp here on the top right, and then looking out into the Aquay Bay, the existing structure. So out here is where you're going to see those additional floats / flupsies, I think is the technical term for it. I also didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night, so I'm not totally up on that, but it is going to function in a shellfish propagation, as part of the shellfish propagation program, taking advantage of this additional float area. And I apologize, I didn't get a real shot of any docks to the sides, but there is more than enough separation here from the town dock to any neighboring docks on either side. More than enough than what the state requires, probably twice as much. So there's no navigational concerns with going further out. And if anything, getting out into deeper water would probably work better for ingress and egress of boats coming in and out. So all around, good project, meets the performance standards for land under ocean, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and I don't believe it's designated as land containing shellfish, but it will perform those shellfish propagation functions as part of this project. So no other comments.
Division comments?
I already went over them.
You did, okay.
Yeah. This is a notice of intent.
Not hearing any additional comments, I would move for a close and issue in regards to the application of the town of Mashpee. It's not 16 Great Neck Road North.
664 Great Neck Road
664.
South.
Great Neck Road South.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
I'll second. Voting, Brad,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
and I'll vote aye, so motion carries, proposal carries.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Do we know what happened to Chad?
Chad was having problems with his cell phone charging. He said every time he charged it, it lost battery power. So Chad will not be joining us for the remainder of the evening, and his internet is also out. So
Okay.
Chad is
Cut his-
effectively out.
Okay.
Okay.
You're doing a great job, Tom.
Well, thanks, Brad. Are you ready for the next hearing, Drew?
I am, and I will invite the applicant's consultant in now. David, are you on the line?
I am, Drew, and Angela Tanner is also
Okay,
there.
I will admit her as well. And you should both be
The
showing.
arc may be there, and the Alexax, I'm not sure, but
Okay, who was the other one before Alexak, you said?
Chris Harris, the project architect.
Okay, I'm gonna invite him too, I see him there. Okay, so everybody who's in the waiting room has been brought into the meeting now, and we can call the hearing.
Okay, I'd like to call the 621 hearing of Michael and Mary Oleksak, 18 Capstan Circle, proposed demolition and reconstruction of a single-family dwelling, septic system upgrade, and hardscape landscape modifications with mitigation plantings, represented by David Mitchinitz of Coastal Engineering.
Okay, David, when you're ready.
So, as described, the project is to demolish the existing dwelling. It's a single-story house with a walkout basement facing towards Spoondrift Cove. And the resource areas at the property are land under the ocean. There's a narrow strip of salt marsh right along the shoreline, a coastal bank, and then land subject to coastal storm flowage. So the existing dwelling, as I mentioned, has a walkout basement. There is finished habitable space in the basement, and so the proposal is to demolish that existing dwelling and replace it with a new dwelling that will comply with current building code and FEMA regulations for construction in land subject to coastal storm flowage. It's an 8E zone, elevation 11. The existing house, between the house and the coastal bank, there's a shed that will be moved, and the septic system serving the existing dwelling is in the between the house and Capstan Circle, is where the leaching facility is. But the septic tank and a pump chamber are located down behind the dwelling in the land subject to coastal storm flowage, and those are shown sort of just behind the dwelling, two angles. The leaching system will remain where it is, but we'll be eliminating any septic system components behind the dwelling, coastal storm flowage. That tanks will be relocated up on the high side of the dwelling, approximately the area where the existing driveway is, or near what is the existing driveway. And the Alexax would also like to add a system to provide some secondary treatment of the wastewater to get some enhanced nitrogen removal, recognizing the sensitivity of their location. I think Angela Tanner can speak to the landscaping and some other work that's being proposed for mitigation and invasives removal. So I'll let Angela speak.
Angela, we can't hear Angela's audio.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you now. Yep.
Okay. The landscape work is pretty simple. We are proposing to relocate the existing driveway to the other side and restore that area with native grasses and ground covers. We're proposing to relocate the existing walk to the front area to be associated with the new driveway. We're also proposing to remove the timber step at the slope and add a retaining wall. and replace those timber steps with stone steps, and a small utility area on the other side of the house. And we are proposing to add a dry laid patio underneath the proposed deck, as well as do a little bit of erosion control at the bank. There's some bare areas that we would like to blanket and plant erosion controlled plantings. We would also like to remove some of the lawn and existing ivy area and a few of the invasive shrubs that are down there and restore that all as a native pollinator meadow. And that's the area that we're considering mitigation for some of the increase. There's a little bit of increase in impervious surface within the 50 to 100 foot buffer area. We also would like to have as an option to remove some of the other invasive species that are within the naturalized areas if the construction budget allows for that, and replace those with native plantings. And then associated foundation plantings once the house is constructed. Some of that area is going to get torn up, so we would like to replace those plantings. That's pretty much it.
Okay, and just to show the commissioners some of the existing conditions on the lot, top left looking at the house from the road. There's the existing parking lot, which will be shifted over to this side of the house over here. House is surrounded by a lot of overgrown vegetation. We've got some yew hedge, and some other ornamentals around the house, and then a lot of overgrown shrub tree mass on all sides of the house. This is the existing bottom left stairway that's proposed to be replaced with stone steps here, leading down into the backyard area. Again, a lot of just kind of overgrown vegetation mass here, a couple of trees. Angela, are those trees proposed to be removed where I'm pointing in the bottom left photo next to the existing stairs?
Yes, I believe those are where the house location and the associated retaining wall would be located.
Okay. And then bottom right, you've got, again, some really large ornamentals that have grown in over the years. And that's that, I think that's that area where you had shown here, proposed native plantings.
Yes, and there would be a little bit of grading there associated with the house, the new house elevation. So those plants would need to be removed and replaced with something else.
Okay. And then just a couple more shots and looking at the resource area side of the property. Again, looking back up, there's the existing stairway, some of the large shrubs in the backyard running up against the existing deck. Just another perspective, the top right photo. And then down here, this is the bank. This is where the property meets the water, salt marsh here, some BVW. Can't really tell from the photograph, but there are pockets of undercutting right along this area, which Angela had pointed out previously. So there's some minor undercutting along the bank here, just probably from ice rafting, general erosion over the years. So it's good to see that that's going to get addressed as part of the mitigation and planting plan. And then bottom right, just another shot of the backyard, existing conditions. Kind of a mixed mesh of grass and planting bed areas. And then you've got the area where the coastal bank and fringe vegetation with the salt marsh behind there and the creek in the background. So project does meet the performance standards for all applicable resource areas. I think it's a really good planting plan. Restoration, I know the LXACs are very conscious about remaining eco-friendly in design for both the house, hardscaping, and landscaping, and I think that's been accomplished through this landscape plan. So just real quick to read Board of Health comments. Property is in a Zone 2. They have not received plans for Board of Health review. Rodent and asbestos inspections must be completed prior to demolition. So, David, I don't know where you're at with Board of Health. Have you communicated this project to them yet?
I had a preliminary discussion, and we'll be submitting the plans soon to the Board of Health. As I mentioned, we're going to be adding some enhanced nitrogen removal to the proposal.
Okay, very good, thank you. And no other comments?
Is that what you meant by you're gonna put some additional septic components in here to help reduce the amount of nitrogen flowing? What are you gonna do in order to improve the septic systems components?
The existing system is a conventional Title V system, just a septic tank,
Right.
pump chamber, and soil absorption system. We'll actually be providing what the state calls an innovative alternative septic treatment system to provide secondary wastewater treatment, which will reduce the BOD, the biochemical oxygen demand, and also reduce nitrogen in the effluent.
Is this one of these multiple tank systems that the effluent will flow through and be cleaned a little bit more?
Yeah, it's going to be cleaned. The exact system hasn't been finalized. There's a few alternatives we're looking at, but it will be an in-tank treatment unit.
Okay, thank you.
This is a notice of intent.
Brad, would you like to make a motion?
I will make a motion. I'm just waiting to see if anybody else had a question, but I would move that we close an issue in regards to the application of Michael and Mary Adams, 18 Capstan Circle.
Does anyone second that?
I'll second Brad's motion.
Voting, Brad?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And I'll vote aye. So the motion carries, the project's approved.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Are you ready for the next hearing?
Yep, just one moment. This is Michael. Oh, Mike, I apologize. I removed you from the meeting. Are you still on the line?
Are you asking me, Drew?
Yes, Mike. Yep.
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm on, obviously you can hear me through my phone. You want me to link back in?
Yes, if you don't mind, please. Sorry about that, Mike.
That's okay. It's okay. Let me,
Sometimes it may not work. If not, we can just continue with audio.
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'm watching the meeting on my iPad separately, so I can see what you're putting up there.
Okay, let me get to the screen here, and okay, Tom, we can proceed with calling the meeting when you're ready.
Okay. So I call to order the 6/24 meeting of Nasser and Ludmila Youssef at 27 Nahoyden Road. Proposed construction of detached garage. Representing them is Mike Ball.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Mike Wall from Marsh Matters Environmental this time. I'm here representing the applicant, Nasser Youssef. He has a .28 acre parcel on the Hoyden Road, south of Javy Pond, and he is proposing to build a 15 by 35 detached garage adjacent to his house. The plans you should have in front of you are that by Google Surveying and Associates, and a set of design drawings by CWSA Engineering, providing the structural details. So the resource area, the only resource area we're dealing with is the coastal flood zone. The majority of the structure will be located within the footprint of an existing gravel driveway on the parcel. Very little natural vegetation will need to be removed. The structure is only 525 square feet and won't alter more than 500 square feet of naturally vegetated area. So, in accordance with your regulations, we wouldn't require any mitigation plantings, so therefore meets the performance standards for wildlife habitat impact at Regulation 25. We did revise the plan and submitted that recently. The only change on the revised plan is that the structure was moved back 2.5 feet towards the corner of the lot. That plan should be dated December 1st, so I think Ed Stone stamped it and signed it December 1st. So that was the only change, and the structural engineer added some additional notes on the plan specific to the siding and sheathing and regarding the vents that are required as part of the structure. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mike. Just to show the commissioners some images here of the site, as Mike described, this is a lot that's entirely within land subject to coastal storm flow, so it does not border any other wetlands or wetland resource areas. This is just all in the AE zone, land subject to coastal storm flowage. So only one regulation under Chapter 172 applies, that's Regulation 25. Here you can see the proposed garage within the driveway layout, and then going back to the pictures, this one bottom left shows best the 4 markers here, stakes in the ground showing the footprint of where the garage is proposed. So it does not involve any alteration of native vegetation. There really isn't much native vegetation on the lot with the exception of the front here, and that's probably also planted. So most of the lot, with the exception of maybe a few fringe trees in the back corner, is entirely pre-disturbed and absent of native vegetation. So given the footprint and location of the garage, it does not impact the performance standards for Regulation 25 and does not trigger any sort of mitigation as a result of the proposed project. So Board of Health comments on this one. Project is not located in a Zone 2. Plans will be reviewed upon submittal to the building department. A Title V inspection is required for the change in footprint. And no other comments. This is a notice of intent.
Does anyone have any comments, Commissioner?
No comments.
None.
No comment.
No comments from the public either.
Not hearing anything, I would move we close an issue in regards to the application of the Yosef's at 27 Hoyden Road.
Here,
I will second Brad's motion.
voting, Brad,
Yes?
Brian,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and I'll vote aye, so motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mike.
You as well.
Bye-bye.
Okay, I'm going to invite, I believe it's John Doyle. Is anyone on the line who is representing 33 Fiddler Crab? I'll just repeat that. Is anyone on the line who is representing 33 Fiddler Crab Lane? It does not appear so, and I don't see John Doyle, the engineer, on the list of people waiting in the virtual waiting room for this meeting. So the only thing I can do is to have a continuance requested on behalf of the applicant to continue this to January 14th at 6:03 p.m.
So moved.
I will second that.
We need to vote on that. Brad,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
myself votes aye. Motion carries. Will be continued till January 14th.
Thank you. Okay, let me look for the next one. This is Holmes McGrath, Tim Santos, so let me invite Tim into the meeting. Tim, are you on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line. Thank
Okay,
you.
I'm gonna admit you. Is there anyone else, Tim, associated with this presentation that I should invite?
Yes, if Maria Hickey is on, you can admit her too, please.
I don't see her listed.
She might just be,
Just
she might have
listening.
just called in audio, so.
Linda, are you on the line?
I'm here,
Okay.
Maria Hickey, but I can't see any video for whatever reason.
Are you under any other name than Linda Hickey?
No, it's Maria Hickey.
I'm sorry,
Maria.
Maria Hickey. Yeah, I don't see you listed here, so. But audio is fine, Maria.
Okay,
Okay. Okay, Tom,
fantastic.
we're ready.
I'd like to open the 6:30 hearing of Joshua and Nicole Delman, 368 Monomoskoye Road. Proposed demolition of existing cottages and sheds and construction of single-family dwelling and garage with apartment above. Septic system upgrade and hardscape landscape modifications with mitigation plantings. And representing is Tim Santos from Holmes and McGrath.
Drew, can I share my plans?
Yeah,
just kind of review it, and then you can do your thing after, if you don't mind.
Sure, I'll stop share now.
Thank you.
And actually, Drew, it says the meeting host will let you in soon on my screen.
Okay, let me check again here. Oh, there you are. All right, Maria, I just invited you.
Fantastic.
Okay,
All
Tim,
right.
we're ready.
Can everybody see that? Yep.
Yes.
Okay, for the record, Tim Santos from Holmes and McGrath, representing the applicant. The property is located at 368/368A Monomoskoye Road. The resource area is on or within 100 feet of the property, land under the ocean, salt marsh. The entire property is located in land subject to coastal storm flowage. Property is currently developed with two existing structures here, located up the front, as well as a shed and a pier in the rear. Some of you might be familiar with this project. I believe we were before you probably 2 years ago. At that time, the board approved the construction of the pier. If you've been to the site, it has been constructed. So we're back before you tonight as the applicant would like to tear down these existing structures, and on this plan you can see construct a new dwelling as well as a garage with living space above. These structures will be tied into a new Title V compliant septic system in between the structures. All the roof runoff will go to dry wells, so there'll be no direct discharges onto the ground. It'll all be tied into subsurface drainage. In the rear of the property here, we have 3 different areas. There's existing vegetation on the northern side of the path down to the pier. It's all invasive. I'll let Maria talk to that in a little bit, that we're planning on removing and replanting with some cedars as well as some native shrubs. It's aqua colored here to the north of the path, and to the south, that's approximately 500 square feet of mitigation things. So this patio, as well as a portion of this deck here, that's all an existing lawn area now, and that's within your 50 to 100 foot buffer zone to the salt marsh. So that's 470 square feet at a 1-to-1 ratio for mitigation, and we're proposing 500. And then we have another section of plantings here that will be shrubs and some seeded trees. That's currently a lawn area, and that helps us get to the meet your regulation 25 natural vegetated buffer requirement. So there's about 2,100 square feet of mitigation, of invasive plantings that we're doing, 500 of the mitigation, and then about another 1,100 of the natural vegetated buffer requirement that's currently lawn. At this point, I'll turn it over to Maria, and she can talk about the invasive species management plan as well as the plantings, and then we'd be more than happy to address any of the board's concerns.
Good evening. For the record, Maria Hickey, Maria Hickey and Associates Landscapes. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm not able to see anybody, so I'm just going to talk.
We can hear you, Maria, thank
Okay,
you. Yep.
perfect. So, the current existence, existing conditions of the buffer zone, there are a few native trees. However, like the snow blanketing the ground right now, the area is so blanketed by bittersweet and other invasive vines that it's really hard to see under those infestations if there's even any other native shrubs. So what we plan to do is an invasive species management plan and remove the invasives from the area, and then replant with a diversification of trees and shrubs, which will offer both a much higher habitat value than currently exists, and also meet both our mitigation requirements while providing some nice habitat value for your native insects, animals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I enclosed a planting plan, so it gives us a good diversification of shrubs and trees to match the site conditions. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Drew, I'm going to stop sharing, and that way you can bring up your...
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just to looking at the GIS image, this is the lot in its entirety off of Monomoskoye. It's a long, narrow lot that stretches from the road all the way to the coastline. And looking at, you've already seen the plans, so I'll go to the photos. Top left is a view of the first cottage from the road. Top right is looking at that same cottage from the backside, looking towards the road. And then bottom left is in between the two cottages. I'm assuming this tree is being removed. Tim?
Yeah, it currently is proposed to be removed. That's
okay.
Here, where the septic,
yeah.
It's in the reserve area, but it is proposed to be removed.
Right, yeah, okay. And then bottom right, looking back at the second cottage, which you see in the bottom left, this is the coastal side of that cottage, and another large tree. That tree, is that also being proposed to be removed, Tim?
Yeah, that one is proposed to be removed.
Okay.
Correct.
Is that the patio? That's the patio area, is that correct?
That's the patio.
So looking at, this is behind the second cottage, there's a boat trailer here in the foreground, looking out at the area Maria had just described. This staking that you see here, this is all staking out the mitigation and restoration area. So you'll see mitigation in this area is currently occupied by lawn. Top right, you can see again, there's a stake indicating proposed restoration. And this mass over here that you see on the top right and bottom left, this is all Asian bittersweet that has just consumed this entire area of the lot. I think the best picture is really the top left, showing this area of Asian bittersweet, which, if not brought under control, will continue to spread and take over and consume native vegetation on the lot. And then bottom right, just looking out towards the backyard where it meets Little River. And again, some more of the Asian bittersweet on the left-hand side, and then you've got some native cedars in the background. And then last two photos, this is just an area of this fire pit ring, I'm assuming is going to be removed because that's in the area of restoration. And then you've got the coastal bank here. And then again, in the foreground of where this left photo is taken is the dock that goes out into Little River, which was permitted not too long ago. And then another shot, just looking at a different angle. This swings structure will be removed because that also is staked out for restoration, looking back towards the cottages in the background here. So going back and looking at the lot in its entirety outside of the two cottages, you can see it's mostly lawn going up to where the cedar trees are in the background, and then you've got a little coastal bank shelf leading down to Salt Marsh, fringe BVW, and then land under ocean associated with Little River. So the project is proposed to be maintained outside of the 50-foot buffer, which is right here. And then you've got the 100-foot, and then the lot is within land subject to coastal storm flowage, the AE zone elevation 11, elevation 13, and elevation 11 of the flood zone jurisdiction. So in terms of performance standards, they are proposing to do all restoration and no structure within 50 feet of the Salt Marsh Bank BVW area. I think that restoring this area here, which is where you saw the bittersweet right in this area here, is certainly warranted on the property, and I think that'll greatly improve wildlife habitat value in this area, as well as this section here that Tim had highlighted earlier. So there is expansion, obviously, in structures outside the 50-foot within land subject to coastal storm flow. But going back to those pictures, this area is entirely pre-disturbed with the exception of the two large trees, which will be proposed to be removed here in these images. Septic leach field in this area, so that tree obviously has to go. And this one here is where the proposed patio is, but they are mitigating for that, as you saw on the plan. So I like the mitigation. I think it's a good project for mitigation. And it does meet the performance standards for land subject to coastal storm flowage, bordering vegetated wetland, salt marsh, and coastal bank, as none of the project is altering, with the exception of these two trees. But the percentage of the lot remaining in a naturally vegetated state or proposed to be removed meets the standard for a lot this size under Regulation 25. So it meets all performance standards. We do have some abutters on the line who wish to comment on this, but I'll hand it back over to you, Tom, if the commissioners have any comments, and then you can call for public comment.
All right, any commissioner comments?
None here.
Nope.
Okay. We can take the first caller if we'll just hold on one moment. Hello, you wish to speak about this project 368 Monomoskoye?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please state your name for the record.
Sure, it's Angie May, and I'm at 372
Okay.
Monomoskoye, and some of these pictures actually include both my property and as well the easement. There's a 10-foot easement, which also is where the main water line for entire Monomoskoye comes down. So I just want to make sure folks understand the pictures they're looking at. So if you go down a little bit, that's obviously the piece of property we're looking at. If you go back to the pictures, you can see some of those photographs include, that's not a photograph, that's a map. So if you go back to the pictures, I can call them out for you if you'd like.
Can you get a little closer to your microphone? We're having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, sure. How's that?
Better, thank you.
Great. So in that bottom right picture, you can see there's a road. That's an easement. That is how I am able to get to my property. There are two properties on the side of this property I guess if you're coming down that shared driveway on the right-hand side. The only way to get to my property is down that 10-foot easement. Again, that is shared by the water line that supplies all Monomoskoye. I just want to make sure everyone understands that. So whatever digging or whatever you have to do to dig up this bittersweet, make sure you understand that. So I just want to make sure everyone understands the pictures they're looking at. If you could go down to the next set of 4 slides, too.
Okay.
And Drew, I've lost the video. It says you're going to let me in soon.
Oh, hold on a second.
I don't know why. So on this picture,
if I can continue. So in this picture, those in the upper left-hand corner, those pine cone-looking trees, those are on my property. Roughly between those pine cone-looking trees and about 10 feet out to if you go from right to left, no, right, exactly. That's a 10-foot easement, again. So I need access to be able to get down that easement to my property. So much of that picture to the right there, where you see those Adirondack chairs, much of that is my property. Not just making sure people understand the pictures, that's all.
This is the landscaper, and I can't see the video, and the pictures that you're referencing. So I can't even answer.
Join the Zoom. You probably need to join the Zoom meeting. That was
I am, but it says Drew has to let me in again.
Maybe you can do that.
Yeah, I'm letting you in now.
Okay.
You should be in now, Maria.
Yep, thank you.
Okay. I'll just say to the abutter, I think the applicants, the consultants, and the commission are well aware of the easement as it has been described and shown, illustrated in the plan. I don't believe, and Tim can elaborate on this, that any part of this is going to restrict access to your property, or any excavation is going to impact any water lines of any sort or utilities. And I'll hand it over to Tim if he wants to elaborate on that, or Maria.
I haven't even stated my concerns yet. I actually was just stating what I wanted to make sure people understood more in the picture. I hadn't gotten to the part of my concern yet.
Okay, we do understand all of that.
Okay, it wasn't stated when I was listening, and I did not hear anyone
it's shown
about
on the
water
plan.
line. So
It's shown on the plan.
my apologies.
Okay, you can continue, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. So, 374, which is the other abutting property, years before I purchased, was allowed by this conservation committee to build a bulkhead for a dock. And the mitigation was to plant a bunch of bushes on that property. And you can't really see it in this picture. It's in the far, far right. My other concern here is that as the mitigation here is to plant yet more bushes in the Delham's backyard, we already get water in our backyard, given the mitigation plan that was given to, I think it was 7 or 8 years ago. I had not purchased the property then, number 374. I can send you pictures of how we get flooding now because the Conservation Board and Dock Board approved a bulkhead to be built on that property. That's come and gone. That is what it is now. My concern is, as I look at these plans, and they're going to have to plant yet more bushes and trees everywhere, that we're yet, because of the way my land is, I'm going to continue to get not less, but more flooding. Not only from down there towards there, but the size of this dwelling, it's quadruple what is there now, and where's all this water going to go? So those are my two biggest concerns with this.
Okay, thank you.
Can we put the drawing of the home up again, Drew?
Yes.
Very small. Are there dry wells called out for the two structures?
This is Tim from Holmes and McGrath. I can answer that. There are dry wells called out. They're 500-gallon leaching chambers with stone around them. They're larger than the typical, or I should say much larger than the typical 2x2 dry well that most people put in for dry wells. We specifically put in the larger ones because of the structure that's going there. They've been sized accordingly. The house that's there now has no dry wells. So what we're proposing is a much better solution than what exists. I mean, I'll let Maria talk to the plantings as well, but it's in my opinion that the additional mitigation plantings will help with any type of flooding events versus lawn where you're just going to get straight rain. So, I can't control what happened on, I believe, the abutter said 374 because that's not our project, but, this project that's before you meets the performance standards, and we've looked at all that ahead of time.
Maria?
Hi, Maria Hickey and Associates Landscapes. The plantings that we are planting offer a significant improvement over what currently exists on the site. On the site right now, you have primarily lawn and you have invasive species. And, you know, the grass roots only go so deep, so they don't do a great job of absorbing any water if you have flooding, whereas the plants that we have selected, and it's a diversity of mix of trees and shrubs, absolutely are suited to soak up any groundwater that you have, and to thrive in those types of conditions. That combined with the fact that your existing structures have no dry wells, and they're proposing 500-gallon dry wells, which will make a significant impact in avoiding any flooding and water. I think it's just a win-win all along.
Thank you, Maria. To the abutter on the line, is there any additional comments? Because we have other people waiting to comment.
Not per se. I'm assuming I'm holding my comments about size and structure and conservation of land, I guess just in general for a different conversation then. That's something you all cover.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, Kate, we can take the other. There's another caller on the line, and we're going to transfer in shortly. Hello, you're on the line with the Conservation Commission meeting for 368 Monomoskoye. Can you state your name for the record, please?
Yes, hello. My name is Patricia Mayfield.
Hi, Patricia. What are your comments?
Okay. Well, one, I want to comment on the tree line for the right-of-way. I presently live at 370 Monomoskoye Road, and I'm a little worried that type of tree tends to get wider and will grow into the right-of-way.
Can you describe what tree you're referring to?
They're talking about planting a long row of trees along the right-of-way towards the lower end or the waterfront part of their property.
Yep, right there. You can see it right along the right-of-way.
Right here, yeah.
Lower. No, down the other side. The right-of-way is running at the bottom of the horizontal.
Oh, right here.
Okay, so yeah, well, you need to go down. There you go. Now you got it. So right at the moment, the property has a kind of a turnoff. So you drive down and you can back in and drop your kayaks off, and that has been there for many years. So now they're going to get rid of that, and they're going to put a building there, so it'll just be a straight back up. You won't be able to turn around anywhere. You can, so that part of the right-of-way will be gone. Also, earlier, someone mentioned that they met their land value of being able to build out the property, which that is in dispute because they are creating a new lot. So that will be in dispute, and that's probably for the zoning board. Also, they are moving the fire hydrant. They haven't given us any notice on where. I know I see on their plan where they want to move it, but we've had no input on that. And also, as far as the water problem with that lot, at the moment he has his boat garage on the side of the property, very up front in the property, and we get a lot of water that comes from the road. I personally have put in a berm, like on our driveway, and it stops the water from coming in, and if they're going to be coming in and out and they're well, first of all, it won't work there. I was waiting for my letter to be read. But you're going to have a lot more water that just comes from not necessarily the runoff of their roofs, but just from the road itself. So that's a concern, that you're going to have all that much more traffic coming in and creating just a lot more heavy flow to an already extremely tight area.
I think they did mention that roof runoff is currently absent and it will be implemented as part of this project.
Yes, what I said is it wasn't just from roof runoff. It was also coming from the road, and the way he wants to put his garage door, which is basically right across from my house, which won't work in a 10-foot right-of-way to have a boat garage of that size, but it will continually run down that berm on our driveway, which is a right-of-way.
Okay. I can read your letter unless you have additional comments.
I would like you to read the letter. My only additional comment was probably more for the ZBA is that there is no hardship here. There is no need to have the property not meet current rules and regulations in regards to setbacks. They are creating a new lot, and as a new lot, then it should meet the 40-foot setbacks and the 15 from the side. There's no hardship. They've got well over 300 plus lengths to the property, so there's no need to create a property that doesn't meet current setbacks. And I assume in the design of the septic, they're aware that the property has failed in their septics before, so I'm guessing that, whatever the septic is now, that it will meet the current nitrogen rules and regulations.
I'm just looking for the... So, Board of Health comments on this. The property is not in a Zone 2 water recharge area. No plans have been submitted to the Board of Health for review. Rodent and asbestos inspections must be completed prior to demolition. So when we get comments like that, it's expected that the applicants will, through their consultants, or directly contact the Board of Health if they haven't already. And that will be ensured to take place before any issuance of a permit from this department if the commission decides to approve this project with conditions. I can go forward and read your letter, but I will, preface it by saying a great deal of it has to do with zoning board concerns that are not the purview of this commission. I can read those comments if you wish, or I can select the comments that apply to the purview of this commission.
Well, I think you should just read it.
Okay.
I think you should read it. They should all be aware of it, and then you move forward with the way you need to move forward.
Very well. Are there any comments from the commissioners at this point, or should I proceed with reading the abutter letter?
Let me understand one thing. The easement is owned by 368 Monomoskoye Road?
No. The easement belongs to everyone, all of the lots, the 3 lots here.
I can address that. This is Tim from Holmes and McGrath. There's a 10-foot way, and the 10-foot way in between 368 and 370, and I believe 372 is the address.
That's why the water department wanted them to get the other lot.
There's a water main that goes to that, and we're aware of it. That's why there's an easement there. The easement's for the water department, to the best knowledge.
Does the water department maintain the surface of the easement?
No, it's not just an easement to the water department. It's an easement to the water for all of us to have a right-of-way to the water.
I understand.
understand. I was just wondering if the easement was better maintained, would that help the drainage problem? So that the drainage stays in the easement, it doesn't flood the next adjoining property. But I don't know anything about easements like that, so I'm be quiet now.
Well, the best thing would be if their parking was to the front of the property, so that it limits the driving down there.
Okay, I'm going to proceed with reading the letter that was submitted to us. This is from the abutter who's on the line now, Patricia. This letter is from Patricia and Raymond Maciel. Forgive me if I mispronounce the name.
Maciel, thank you.
Maciel, thank you. Dear Conservation Commission, the property known as 368 and 368A Monomoskoye Road, Mashpee, has been in the same family / of heirs of Boehner for over 20 years. It has essentially been one lot, a humble main home and guest cottage. The town of Mashpee has had the property as of 2 lots for many years, with 368A being the waterfront parcel containing the guest house and 368 containing the main house, which is directly off of Monomoskoye Road. The Delmans purchased the property in this configuration and then had a change / correction made to the lot lines in 2017. The change moved the guest house onto lot 368. This change effectively makes 368 a pre-existing non-conforming lot. As such a lot, it should be held to the rules which state that all construction must stay within the previous building's footprints. The Delmans wish to demolish all structures on lot 368, combine the lot with 368A, now an empty lot. Combining these two lots creates a new lot. This new lot should be held to the present building codes and setbacks, which are 40 feet from the front of the lot and 15 feet from the sides of the lot. The Delmans wish to create a new lot, but be allowed to use the setbacks of the old lot, and they wish to bulk out the new property to the maximum allowed. Monomoskoye Island is comprised of many long, narrow lots. Larger homes have been built by combining several lots. The Delmans' combined lots are not as wide as comparable lots with homes of the size they wish to build. If you look at the plan for the garage apartment, it will loom over the street. They wish to build a new structure out to the end of the roof overhang of the old structure and add on to the footprint. This is already a tight area with the smaller home that is presently there. In example, if you look at the Delmans garage plan, it shows a large boat garage door facing the 10-foot right-of-way. It is obvious that a boat needs a larger garage door of that size will not be maneuverable in and out of their property without encroaching on mine and the flow of traffic of other neighbors. I do not believe that any garage door should use the 10-foot easement. The easement already serves the 4, and in parentheses it says 5 homes, the Delmans guest house, the Maciel's main house and guest house, and the Dumais main home and guest house. The Delman main home will certainly cause more traffic than the present guest house. It should be more appropriate to have the garage apartment 40 feet back from Monomoskoye Road with the parking lot in front of it like most homes on the island. The proposed new lot with new home and guest apartment should comply with current regulations regarding setbacks and not be exempt from them. Ray and I and most neighbors that we have talked to expected new homes to be built under the pre-existing non-conforming rule, in parentheses, and welcome it. The Delmans feel they have found a loophole in their discovery of the lot line change. To me, this change confirms that any new building on 368 should stay within the footprint of what is presently there, unless they are creating a new lot, and therefore such lot should comply to new setback regulations. I hope the board will consider our points of view on this matter. I would also like to point out the property contains 2 gorgeous trees, large trees, one of some kind of conifer and the other is a maple. They are spectacular. Is there any way to save at least one of them? Sincerely, Patricia and Raymond Maciel. So as I said before, the setbacks that are being alluded to, mentioned, referenced in that letter are really under the purview of the Zoning Board of Appeals, and this project will have to go before the Zoning Board of Appeals. So bulk of that, with the exception of the 2 trees, really fall under a different board's purview.
I'm sorry, it's so hard hearing you and the TV at the same time.
They should turn off the TV. I don't have any other comments on the project. It's, as I stated earlier, it meets the performance standards under Chapter 172 and 310 CMR 10.0, the local and state wetland protection acts respectively. And I don't have any other comments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else, Caitlin? No other comment, no other callers for this. No other abutters calling in.
Drew, am I allowed to speak again? It's Maria Hickey.
Sure.
I just wanted to thank you all for your time and allowing us to make our presentation. And, you know, understandably, people are resistant to change. However, as you mentioned, many of the issues that the 2 callers have are zoning and building department issues. I feel as far as the Conservation Commission goes, we are making dramatic, significant improvements to this parcel of land. I understand she is upset about the loss of 2 trees, but I believe it's over 25 new ones that we're planting, with hundreds and hundreds of native shrubs. And it's a really fantastic project as far as, you know, creating diversity of species and increasing your native resource area.
Thank you. Tom?
Does anyone else have any comments here with this? I assume that the right-of-way is saying gravel?
Yes.
And what about that parking, the parking that's shown to the boathouse? Both of those parking areas?
That all the parking is proposed to be gravel.
And the patios are pervious?
The patios are pervious pavers.
And there are dry wells associated with the patio and the driveway?
Right.
The neighbors seem most concerned with drainage, so. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I would move that we close an issue in regards to the application of Joshua and Nicole Delman at 368 Monomoskoye Road.
Second, anyone?
I'll second that.
Voting, Brad?
Yes?
Brian?
Abstain.
Paul?
Yes.
And I'll vote aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Have a great holiday season.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas. Ho, ho, ho.
Thank you, Maria.
Thanks, Maria.
Okay, let me, Tom Bunker's already here, so, Tom, you can call the next hearing. This is, 6:33.
Calling a 6:33 hearing of Richard Cusela at 379 Monomoskoye Road. Proposed construction of roof over existing deck, represented tonight by Tom Bunker for BSS Design.
Tom, I don't know if you wanted the screen share or you want to leave that to me. Your call.
You know, it's pretty simple. If you have the plan ready to put up.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'll put it up there.
Not a lot to say or show, really.
No. All right, wait a second here.
Getting late, don't look for words.
Sorry. Slow scrolling.
Keep scrolling, yeah. There it is.
There it is. All right. Okay, Tom, when you're ready.
Yeah, I can say for the record, my name is Tom Bunker with BSS Design, and this project has actually been going on for a few years. Later tonight, you have a request for a certificate of compliance for some work that was done along the that sandy area there, and the sand in the marsh area. And so I hope that should get compliance. There was some planting done and all in that location. And this RDA is for, if you see the deck that Drew was showing you there is a proposal to put a roof over 12 feet by 22 feet of the existing deck. On the upper right, you can see that, and he wants to get the permit, because he has to do the roof at the same time too, but it's going to be all within the footprint, or smaller than the footprint of the existing deck. There'll be no increase in coverage, and it's just a roof structure over, you see the sort of a bay window there, it's a roof structure over that portion of the deck. Basically, yeah, what you're looking out over on the bottom left is you'd be standing under their roof, sort of, at that point, looking out there, and that's what he wants to do. Take any questions?
So, pretty straightforward application, and talking with Tom too, going over this area. This was an issue that we encountered a while back, and it has since been mitigated for. This GIS image doesn't really reflect what this area looks like today. There's still some sand out there, but the sand was put down without a permit, and it started to leach into the salt marsh here. So what we required through enforcement action was to get the sand out of this salt marsh area, get this mitigated, get some groundsel bush, which is a wetland obligate species planted in here, and then some upland plantings to occupy the sandy footprint in the upland portion of this sandy area, and then some more mitigation plantings over here for some shrubs that have been cut, again, without authorization.
Do you have my drawing, Drew?
What's that?
Do you have my drawing to?
I do, I think, yeah.
And you'll probably bring it up for the compliance
Let me,
later anyway.
you know what? I don't know if I have it, Tom.
The question is, find quickly if you want.
Yeah, if you want to, I'll stop share, Tom, if you want to bring it up, please. Sorry, I thought I put it into my presentation, but obviously I didn't.
Yeah. Well, maybe you have it for the compliance presentation, but this is the plan. So you can see this, the deck, the roof rather, over the deck, 12 by 22 feet in this location, and the salt marsh has gotten sand into it, and so as mitigation, as Drew was saying, there was 22 bayberry shrubs, some beech plum shrubs, some cedar trees, and the groundsel on the right up on the upper edge of the salt marsh in this location. So this RDA is for to put the roof over the deck, but later tonight you'll have a compliance request for that. So.
Correct. Yeah. So this is not part of the salt marsh. The mitigation is not part of this application. It is only the roof addition over the deck. So no other comments. Obviously, no impact to land subject to coastal storm flowage, staying outside of the wetland resource areas, and fairly innocuous project that I would recommend a negative determination.
So moved. Brad, do you want to make a motion?
So moved. Negative determination with regards to the application of Richard Casella at 379 Monomoskoye Road.
Second?
I'll second Brad's motion.
Voting, Brad?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Myself voting yes. So motion carries.
Thank you, everyone. Have happy holidays.
You too, Tom. Thank you.
You too.
All right. Good night.
Okay. I think Raul is still on the line with us, and been here all night. So I'll get to the next screen, and Tom, you can open up the last hearing.
The
36 hearing of Aquay Bay LLC, 9 Aquay Bay Road. Proposed amendment to the order of conditions to modify footprint of dwelling and pool area with addition of pool cabana representing Raul Lizardi Rivera.
Good evening. For the record, Raul Lizardi Rivera from Cape and Islands Engineering. Drew, if you could also promote Don Bliss, if you can see him in the screen,
Don.
and Jennifer Crawford.
I did invite Jen. I don't see Don listed.
He may be just connected by phone.
Okay,
That's
Don,
the case.
Don, are you on the line? Don Bliss?
Maybe not.
Nope.
That's all right. Is Jen connected?
No.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Jen.
Excellent.
Yes. For the record, Raul Lizardi Rivera from Cape and Islands. This project received an order of condition in 2012, and what we're proposing is to amend that order of condition. The project is to develop a vacant lot, and the order of condition at the time was for a new house, a pool patio, septic system, and a pier. The property got sold, and there is a new house to be developed, and a new configuration of the pool house, pool patio, and etc. So we're asking to amend the order of condition with this new revised plan. So the resources within the property and within 100 feet of the project are Aquay Bay, which is land under the ocean, land-containing shellfish. There's a salt marsh, and there's a coastal bank. The one resource that got updated from the approved plans for the order of condition has to do with the flood zone. Because the changes in 2014 from the FEMA flood zones, we do have a new flood zone. However, this new flood zone did not change the top of the coastal bank. So this top of the coastal bank is the same top of the coastal bank that was reviewed and approved back in 2012. So the setbacks from this coastal bank remain the same. The limit of work that was approved back in 2012 is the same limit of work that we're proposing with this project. So that limit of work is not changing. Now, the interior development within that limit of work is changing. And the changes are as such. So we had a proposed patio, pool patio, that was a setback of 50 feet before. We still maintain that 50-foot setback to the pool patio, but the pool patio has a different shape. The pool itself was proposed at 54.7 feet. It is still the same setback, but the shape is different. We have a proposed pool cabana. There was no pool cabana proposed before. This new structure is located at 65 feet from the top of the coastal bank, so that's a new setback that was not reviewed in the original order of conditions. The house, the proposed house, was proposed at 78 feet from the top of the coastal bank. That is increased to 80 feet. So the house is pushed further away from the coastal bank by 2 feet. The approved order of condition approved a total mitigation area of 831 square feet. That was an area that was calculated based on the amount of disturbance that is taking place between the 50 and the limit of work, between the 50-foot setback and the limit of work. And that area was calculated at 831 square feet. The revised plan with this new development increased that mitigation area. Not counting the area that's down the path or down what it was called to be a vista pruning, the area within the limit of work up to the 100 buffer zone calculates to about 1,100 square feet. So it's an increase from about low 800 to low 1,100 in terms of mitigation. The proposed lawn areas within the limit of work and the 100-foot buffer was approved to be, I've got it somewhere in here. Lawn area was approved to be 1,174 square feet back in 2012. That area of lawn is being reduced to 468 square feet. The lawn area mainly is the path that's within the limit of work and the 100-foot buffer. There is some proposed mitigation area here that Jen will talk more about. Now, something that we are not going to ask for this amendment on this project is the vista corridor. The plan originally submitted calls out for a vista corridor, but Drew got back to us at our office, and we've been in touch back and forth with Drew. There's going to be some more talk between the Conservation Department, our office, and the developer to see how to mitigate that vista corridor within the coastal bank. So that area would not be subject to this amended order of condition, but will be at some point move forward in further discussion and maybe a further application. As for the proposed pier, this project, this amendment plan does not change anything that was approved already for the pier. So the pier, as proposed and as approved and under the Chapter 91 license, remains the same. The septic system, although it's outside of the 100-foot buffer, it was approved to be 135 feet from the top of the coastal bank. And because of all the movements with the proposed new house, that septic leaching field setback increased from 135 to 150. And I will now pass it over to Jen so that she can explain more about the mitigation and landscaping. Jen?
Yes, hi. This is, for the record, Jen Crawford from Crawford Land Management. So we were asked by the developer to take a look at the property and to help provide mitigation for the proposed construction activities. So you can see with the plan that's on the screen, essentially what we've done is the area that will be disturbed within the limit of work, that will be restored using native grasses, sedges, and other plantings in those areas as called out on the plan. There was an area, before the property was sold to the current owner, there was an area down the middle of the property where the path is and along the coastal bank that had been previously mown and some trees cut by the owner that owned it before. So one thing that my original filing failed to address was the area that was disturbed on the coastal bank, which is what we spoke with Drew about this morning. So in doing so, what I did is I added additional notes to the plan for how we will address that in a more detailed manner as soon as basically I have time to go out and do a more thorough site investigation for that area. So there are bank restoration notes on the plan to address that area to give you an idea of what we will be identifying, locating, and likely proposing for you to approve in the future for that particular area. Overall, the plan between restoring the area that will be disturbed for construction activities within the limit of work, which is almost all outside of the 50-foot buffer zone. Our plan proposes to restore that area as well as add and supplement native vegetation to other various parts within the 50-foot buffer zone, which I think will definitely help to provide a greater species diversity to the area. It is basically a maritime forest or woodland within the 50-foot buffer. That would be how I would characterize it according to NHESP. And so I think that the total addition of square footage plantings that we would be adding to the area and supplementing is a little over 3,000 square feet. And that essentially results in around 160 shrubs and colonizing understory species that would go in, as well as over 1,000 grass, sedge, and forb species to add a lot of pollinator habitat as well as spreading ground covers. With that, I think I am done. I know Andrew is also on the line, who is the landscape architect on the project.
Andrew, do you have anything to add?
I'm just joining in if there's any questions on the hardscape area. I came into this project very late, and all I have done on it so far is that hardscape area and the swimming pool. So I just thought I'd make myself available in case there was any questions about that.
Is that a raised patio, Andrew?
Yeah, do you want me to share the screen? Because you
Yeah,
don't have the plan that I drew. Mine's just, at this point, a sketch plan.
Sure.
If I can do this. Yeah, so you can see, I don't even have a formal plan complete yet, but yeah, it is raised from this. Can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay. From about this portion here, there's a retaining wall that comes down to here, connects into the base of the cabana, and then there's a retaining wall that runs from the corner of the cabana back to the house. So this area is all at this roughly just below the first floor level. It meets grade over on this side, and then there's a fence that goes from the corner of the house here and comes around the patio this way, and then goes on top of the patio and continues down on top of the edge of the patio here. Again, that patio is raised and comes back here. That allows this area to be flat, and it allows this area to be essentially the existing grade all the way around. I thought it would be less disturbing, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. See, I've got a proposed 4-inch wide gravel-filled trench that would have a 4-inch perforated pipe into it that would go to a dry well. Also, it pitches away from the pool back to the house in this direction. See, 1% slope here, 1% slope there. And then this is a channel drain to capture the water that way. Another channel drain right there. Another one in front of that step. And then this area is all flat next to the cabana. And then there's 3 steps down to the pretty much the existing grade here.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You want me to close that share?
Yes, please.
Stop share.
Thank you. So, not much more to add. It was already mentioned as far as the changes. It's entirely changes to what was previously approved, just the configurations, not the setbacks, specifically the cabana and pool shape within the patio layout, and then letting the commission know about all of the mitigative work that's been proposed here. Get the pathway down to our standards for naturally vegetated buffer strips, and then we'll address this area, the coastal bank, at a future point in time, and vista pruning. It's just a bit complex right now to get into any vista pruning proposal at this point in time, but it will be forthcoming once we have a chance to look at this a little more closely and figure out what restoration is going to entail. So nothing more to add. Nobody is called in for public comment, and I'll pass it back to you, Tom.
Do I hear someone who'd like to, anyone would like to comment on this? Any commissioners want to have any comments?
Nope.
Would anyone like to entertain a motion?
This is a motion to amend the open order of conditions, correct?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay, so I would move to approve the amended open order of conditions on 9 Aquay Bay Road.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
The voting, Brad?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
David?
David?
Brian.
Oh, Brian.
Brian, sorry.
Yes.
Brian. And I'll vote yes. So the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Raul, we're going to keep you on a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Because you've got the administrative request, and I'm going to go back to that slide, and I'll open that pre-hearing agenda item for you, Raul.
Thank you very much, brother.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jen. Okay. Okay, Raul, we're ready.
Yes, for the record, Raul Lizardi from Cape and Islands Engineering. This project, let me get my right paper here. The applicant for this project at 424 Monomoskoye is Kim Suri. This property, December of 2019, received an order of condition. So the board approved the project for a complete tear down and reconstruction of a new house with a pool and a pool patio. Since December of last year, sometime in probably late spring, early summer, the applicant had the proposed house redesigned. So the house has a new footprint. The pool patio has also a new, slightly different configuration, and they've also decided that although the project was approved in the original order of condition last year with a new shed, the existing shed to be removed, a new shed to be installed, they figure that they can do the work and develop the property without a new shed. So there's not going to be a shed. The shed is going to be removed. Overall, what we're asking is for an admin approval to replace the approved plan last year with this revised plan. The property, the new development renders a total of 62 square feet less structures on the property than the approved plan. The setbacks to the, I guess in this case, is the salt marsh. The setback that now dominates is the 30-foot setback to the pool patio, which is the same setback that was approved last year. There was a setback of 27 feet to a shed, but the shed is no longer proposed, so there is no setback of a shed of 27 feet. The proposed house still meets the 40-something feet that was proposed before, so the real change here is a reduction in total square footage and no reduction in the setbacks to the pool patio. There is still the proposed mitigation berm that was proposed back and approved, which is following the edge of the existing salt marsh. This property is actually mowed and kept as lawn all the way into the marsh. This berm was approved last year to prevent continued mowing and continue the growth of lawn on this area. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So pretty straightforward application, administrative approval request. That's the reason we had to come in as an admin approval, because it's really a reduction in footprint and a change in the shed proposal to no proposal of a shed. So pretty straightforward, just very minor changes in scope, reduction in scope, and I would recommend approval of this administrative request. This is 424 Monomoskoye Road.
The berm, and it's shaded in green, is that a change as well, or is that in the original submission?
That's just on the same plan, but there's no change to that berm. Just what Raul described over here, pool patio shed, that's the limit, that's the extent of changes to this request.
If there's no further questions, I'd move for an approval of the open order of conditions at 424 Monomoskoye Road.
I'll second Brad's motion.
And let's take a vote. Brad?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
I'm not going to vote because I'm going to recuse myself from the vote.
Okay. bid you a good night. You earn your pay tonight.
Happy holidays, everyone. Good night, everyone.
Thank you. All right, there's just a couple more agenda items to go over. We've gone through the meeting minutes. The next item up is to vote to approve the 2021 meeting calendar. Did everybody receive a copy of that from Cynthia of 2021 meeting calendar?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in my calendar now.
Excellent. So we need to have a motion and a vote to accept that as the final calendar for 2021 meeting schedule of the Conservation Commission.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Voting Brad,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Motion carries per the calendar.
Great, thank you. Last two items, this is something, the next item up is discussion on the establishment of a bylaw review committee. Brad may be the one who remembers we actually had this a while back. I can't remember how many years ago it was. I think it was back in like 2009, 2010, where we had select commissioners, I think it was 3 commissioners, voluntarily serve on a bylaw review committee. And there's a lot of things in our regulations and bylaws that need to be looked at, updated, amended, maybe removed or added. It involves a lot of work that really the volume of which would take up a substantial amount of staff time. So we're asking for commissioners to assist with this through the formation of a bylaw review committee. It doesn't have to be voted on officially tonight. It's just something to be brought up as a topic of discussion. But, in reviewing our regulations, Kate and I have, come up with some ideas about what could be changed, what could be omitted, what could be added. And first and foremost, and we really hope we don't have to go to town meeting for this, uniform formatting throughout. Because the bylaw is very well formatted. It's easy to tell somebody, go look at the bylaw, and you can reference sections A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. The regulations, however, completely different story, the way that they're formatted. So some of them have a preamble, some of them have sections 1, 2, 3, and 4, some of them have sections A, B, C, D, and E. What we're looking to do, some of them just have bullet points with no A, B, C, or 1, 2, 3 at all. And what we're looking to do in that aspect is really reformat the entirety of the regulations so that when we tell somebody to reference the regulations, we can reference specific sections, numbers, and letters, which I don't feel confident doing right now, given the current format. So that's something that we can work on in-house, but as far as the content and updating and looking at the regs and kind of reflecting, on all the new kind of impacts that we're looking at, and new projects, such as an example would be aquaculture. We don't have a regulation for aquaculture, and we're going to see a lot more aquaculture applications coming forward in the future. I guarantee you that. And we don't have any standards for it. So that's just one example. Climate change and sea level rise are other examples of things that are happening now that really aren't addressed under our bylaw or our regulations. So I'm just throwing these out as an example of why we need to go back and look at our regulations and update them to address these new issues. So think about that. We can put this on to the next meeting's agenda, or I'll entertain any sort of discussion tonight on it. But what we're looking to accomplish is to have 2 or 3 members of the commission volunteer to serve on a bylaw review committee and start reviewing the regulations for updating and the bylaw.
It's a great assignment. It's so exciting that, you can't wait to get to it. But it is interesting and it's educational, I would say, way back then, the best that I can remember some of the things that we did. So I think it's a good thing. I think right now, for instance, myself, I want to go back and I have to admit that I don't read the regulations. time story. And, so I think I want to take a good hard look at it, and then maybe next meeting we take a vote.
That sounds good. Any other thoughts or discussion on this? Feedback?
I think whatever is undertaken the bylaws should be made accessible so that everyone understands them very, very well. And I think the language should evolve into something that encourages people to follow the bylaws and understand them, rather than seeing them as just legalese. So whatever kind of verbiage could be used to encourage that and allow people to understand them better, I think that would be helpful.
I agree. Ease of reading, easily understandable language, and an explanation as to why the regulations are in place, what the purpose is, rather than just saying this is a regulation, this is what you have to do, but having some explanatory language behind it that's easy to understand and very straightforward. I think it's definitely something that we need to. And some regulations are worded that way currently, and some aren't. So to have that uniformity, from start to finish would be very, very helpful.
Well, why don't we put it off till next time, and then we can discuss that and see who would like to be involved in the 3 volunteers to help out with the department and review all and make the necessary changes.
Great. Yes.
Yeah, this is Brian. I just wanted to say that I'm here, for any kind of support that the department or anyone needs. I know we can talk about it at the next meeting, but I'd be willing to volunteer, and just wanted to express that to the commission and everyone else.
Thank you, Brian. We appreciate it.
Good.
Okay, last agenda item is just some updates for the commission, and we've got just a couple of specific updates. One regarding the Upper Quashnet restoration, and I did reach out to Neil Price, our consultant. He did apologize because we haven't really heard from any new information on this restoration effort, which is, as you all know, in the data collection and planning phase. So I'm going to read you an email that he sent when I asked him for an update. That they were waiting, the last update, they were waiting for the leaves to come down from the trees on the bog site to improve sight lines before they go out starting on the ground survey work. So they anticipate that they will be having a survey crew go out starting in early January. And before then, starting now, if it hasn't started already, there will be some mapping and preparation work occurring that you'll start to see more progress on very soon. I did reach out to him because I've been consistently updated with the Childs River restoration effort that seems to be moving full steam ahead while the Upper Quashnet seems to be stalling. And so I wanted to get an update on that, and that is what Neil had supplied us with. So I'm going to keep on it. I like to see things moving, especially projects that have been on the back burner for so long and continually stalled and delayed, like the Upper Quashnet has been. So seeing how well the Childs River project, which is almost a mirror image of the Upper Quashnet, has rolled along and just really been meeting all expectations, and the communication has been fantastic. And if anyone hasn't been out there recently, the Garner and Farley bogs have been stripped. The river has been rerouted in those sections. The pit and mound topography has been created, and the next steps are, seeding and letting, dormant seeds come up in the springtime. And if you go out there now, you won't even recognize it. It's amazing, the change and the bioengineering that's taken place in that section of the Childs River. The bog surfaces are gone. There's no cranberry bog vines. There's 2 ponds that have been created out of the holding ponds that were once there. and the site just looks completely transformed, and it'll continue to be transformed as we get into the spring and summer season. So it truly is an amazing project to see happen, and it'll give you a very nice preview of what to expect at the Quashnet, only on a different scope and scale. So I highly encourage, if anyone hasn't been out to the Childs River yet, this is off of Old Barnstable Road, Browns Road, and there's the Childs River Conservation Land parking lot there. It's a little bit of a hike in, but highly encourage people to go out and check it out, because the transformation is really very impressive. So that's the latest on Upper Quashnet. I'm going to continue to be a pain in the you-know-what to get that moving. So does anybody have any questions on that? And going over to the Red Brick Road culvert situation, Jim Rassman has been really great. He's kind of pulled together all the parties that have a stake in this particular project, which you all recall. It's a failed culvert. The bogs that were flooded in this area were drained, although then they get flooded again and then they drain. So it's a on and off again type of cycle out there right now. But Jim Rassman has really done a great job in getting all the stakeholders together, including members of the association on both sides of the bog in Falmouth and in Mashpee. And just bringing everybody to the table for discussing what's going to happen out there. So I copied an email from him, and I'll forward it to everybody. But the gist of it is that they had representatives from Seabrook Village Association and Seabrook Shores to join at the last Zoom meeting that they had. They received updates from the town concerning ownership of Red Brook Road Dike and Culvert. And they discussed the Office of Dam Safety report, which held the hazard classification of that culvert. They're the ones that designate the different hazard classes of all culverts and dams throughout the Commonwealth. And we'll update them once we're sure of the ownership structure moving forward. For all intents and purposes, it looks like the town is just going to take over the culvert because it's attached to the road, and it just makes sense for the town to do that because the town has, grant opportunities to fund fixing the culvert, fixing the road. So I think that's going to be the one guarantee out of this is that the town is just going to take it over, which makes perfect sense. And Jim's gone out and, toured around the site with some of the local residents. Had a discussion around road safety, icing, road subsidence, and the scale of the problem and the desire of the surrounding homeowner to see open water features return. We all agree that this is a complicated issue/project, but wanted to work together to improve the condition of the main structure and look for opportunities to consider the whole system if possible. On the to-do list is reach back out to the Office of Dam Safety for further updates from the towns, complete the photo tour to include the lower and upper reaches of the streams, and continue to share information with neighbors and invite others to join us. And the next meeting is going to be tomorrow. If anyone's available, I'll send out a link to that meeting. I'm sorry, I should have done it a lot sooner. It's just been a very busy week from this enormous meeting agenda tonight. Happens when we're down to one meeting a month. But progress is being made. Jim Rassman is a master of communication and getting people together to discuss problems and come to an amicable solution. So I'm really glad that he's taken the reins on this, and that's all I got.
Great.
So you can call the
I
meeting
would
to
move
adjourn.
to adjourn this meeting.
Wait a second.
Second.
I'll second that.
Voting. Paul,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Brad, and myself.
Yes.
Brad? Yes.
All right, everybody have a great Christmas and New Year's.
Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays, everyone.
Okay, good night.